In this chapter, we will continue discussing about how to be better prepared for the mission, starting off with being wise and responsible with foreign currency. For those of you who have been watching as we've been walking this journey and how it's important that we have to show good responsibility, but also meaningful intentions. Although money is a sensitive subject, but it's what we have to talk about so we can have better preparations, but also learn from one another. So for example, starting off from home, this would be a good time to check drawers, or if it's a shoebox, or if you hide things behind a desk, scrounge up all of the funds. And follow next by at your local bank. Take all the funds that you have from home to the bank, telling them that yes, I'm traveling abroad and I need everything in larger size bills. And that's why I have this check mark. For Andrew Jackson's, Ulysses S. Grant's, and Benjamin Franklin. And the reason why I have a little caution right here, it says use caution. Benjamin Franklin is the highest bill. Tell them that you would like to have things in Ulysses S. Grant's and Andrew Jackson. If you have anything in Benjamin Franklin's, and if you lose funds, but the worst of all, if you lose Benjamin Franklin's, then you're in a bigger trouble. And the reason why for this X here, George Washington's, Abraham Lincoln's, and Alexander Hamilton. These are the lowest side of bills that are probably not going to really be useful for you. If you still want to take this with you, be my guest. I would just rather have these for very specific occasions, giving a cash tip to somebody in emergency reasons. And I would not be using this when you go to the currency exchange. Now to turn things over, when you're at the airport, this marker here, let me show you why. The reason why I put a little X on airports. One mistake that travelers make trying to do currency exchange at the airports. Airports will tend to rip you off. They will not give you a good rate. It's also very expensive and you probably will most likely get scammed. So now let's imagine after your time at the airport and then when you're about to head to your accommodation, here's what I recommend doing. And when you're at the hotel, sort everything out and organize currency exchange, what you could use for emergencies. If I were you, I would just not recommend utilizing the bills that you did not exchange at your local bank when you're just out and about. If you were to show what you do not use when you're in the other country, you're probably going to stand out and you will probably get charged a lot of money or you'll probably be a target for scamming. That is why, after a while settling down, get ready for the next day because again, you are very tired from the traveling and you are just trying to still get used to everything. When you're at the currency exchange, this would be a good time to utilize these funds here. A little cautionary note, certain banks may be trustworthy, some will not be. Here's two different examples I can give. During my time in Japan, I had to go to what was called Namba currency exchange. I had these right here. I also had Korean won. I used it to my advantage. I still had a good enough amount of funds left. During my time in Mexico, that was another trickier story. When my mother and I had to go to the bank and we had to also get funds for myself and for the rest of our family. What I didn't realize, and I had to learn this the hard way, this was not going to be applicable. Make sure you are using higher value bills because this is what they will utilize more. On the flip side of it, if you are bringing too much bills, let's just say about $300. If you're not going to use it all, you basically will lose money. During my time in Rwanda, this is how much I actually brought. 210, and I still had leftover because I was being very wise, and so much so I ended up giving some to help somebody else. What you do not want to do, and I mean what you do not want to do, leave your hotel and then going out and about to wherever it is and you try to bring everything that you had exchanged. Because what happens when you run into an emergency, you lose everything and you're probably going to have a very hard time and you're probably going to have to ask other people to help, which is not going to be pleasant and you'll just feel more guilt. That's why before I ever leave my accommodation, I try to leave behind half of the funds, or at least majority of it still at my accommodation, and only carry like a quarter of it. So that is why that when you travel, and especially when you're at your accommodation, do some research, figure out what is going to work, what is not going to work, but also how much is it going to cost and what's round trip, etc. It would also be a wise idea to talk with your team leader about what the arrangements are and what will be planned. So now that you get an idea about why it's important to fund your time away responsibly, I'll just give you a little version of if I had to start all over again. My local bank, I would not only bring cash, but debit and credit cards, and also get ready to talk to the staff and ask the questions. Don't go to ATMs. People get charged with weird fees, but also sometimes rates are not going to be good. The only time I would ever use an ATM, though, however, is just depositing cash or check. iPhones and also the apps have gotten better. Nowadays, people just do it from their phones and just take a picture and it gets sent to the account immediately. Do ask them all the following questions while you are getting your funds organized. What is the currency rates when at this country that I'm visiting? Are there any foreign transaction fees? And just being honest, saying, yes, I am going away to Rwanda and I might get foreign transaction fees. can you somehow waive this for me? Or is there something that we could do? I don't know what they will probably entail because all banks are different, but this would be the conversation I would be having. When you're in Rwanda, ask them, I don't care if it's the connections that you are there, who you see, but also your team leader. What are the rates? Do they charge any fees? And also having ready on hand when the day you are going to do the currency exchange, passports and other documents. For those of you who are not familiar with, especially for foreign travel, you will have to have your passport when doing currency exchange. But here's what's also very interesting. During my time in Rwanda, yes, I had to have it. In Mexico, same thing. But yet when I was in Japan, I didn't need to have it. Also having backup cash and cards. Although I did say previously, don't have too much, but still have backups just in case. Certain cards that you have, if it either fails or if they cannot accept it, if you end up finding out that you get foreign transaction fees, have a backup just in case. Talk with your team leader or the local connections. Where is there the nearby ATMs or currency exchange? Let's hope that you don't have to find out where is everything nearby. You only have to go to the currency exchange only once, and you don't have to do it ever again during your time there. Because if you're having to keep going back for cash because you were being a little bit careless with your money, then we have a problem. If you end up with leftovers and you give it to somebody else, you just became the humble person in the group. If you end up blowing it all away when an emergency arises, now you're basically known as the careless one in the group. My advice to you, don't be that guy who is careless with the money.